Hello everyone, welcome back to When the Night Comes. We defeated the creature, we saw really sexy Omen, and now, everything went black. Did we just pass out? Let's find out, shall we?
Hunter?
Yes?
Hunter, snap out of it.
I'm currently dying, sir. Can't really snap out of it. I coax myself out of my little daze, finding kind blue eyes staring at me. Unamused, kind blue eyes.
Are you quite finished daydreaming?
Hold on, are you dead? Are you okay, I get that, but also there's a person here. I smile at him because as much as Harry tries to be annoyed with me, he's adorable when he's angry. I am Major Addington. Very sorry, sir. There's that little mouth twitch, an attempt to stifle a smile. I know him too well, and as humbly as I try to be, Harold Addington III cannot resist.
Stop that.
Stop what? I'm not doing anything. He sighs, loud, pitiful.
Yes, you are. You're looking at me like that. How many times do I have to remind you that I'm your superior, Hunter Lane?
In a flashback? I feign contemplation, just twisting the knife a little more, making him squirm. Oh, maybe there are a few more times we didn't do the trick. We both laugh when he swats my arm, but Harry is quick to straighten himself up, ever the professional. I'm currently, this has to be a flashback because Hunter Lane is dead. And I'm so confused.
I have an assignment, something out of town. It might take us a few days if we're lucky.
He looks at the papers that have been deposited on his desk, a pretty sizable pile for a simple missive, by the look of it. A little getaway, just the two of us. Harry rolls his eyes, scoffing.
If you consider hunting a rogue clan of witches romantic.
Then he looks at me, eyes narrowed.
You do, don't you?
I shrug, stepping forward to push the papers from beneath his fingertips. I rest my hand upon his waist, crowding close until he has no choice but to sit upon the surface of his desk. Any time spent alone with you is time that I cherish, my love. The flush that sweeps across his cheeks is charming as always, and when I lean in to brush his lips with my own, gone is the stiff formality of Enforcer General Addington, and in his place is the man that I love. My partner in all things, my soulmate. We're both in need for some time away from here, don't you think? Even if it does involve us being knee-deep in angry witches.
Sweet talk me some more, please. I don't know how I ever resisted you.
I raise an accusatory brow. You didn't. He huffs quietly, but my statement is irrefutable.
So smug.
Unconsciously, we both cast the door a glance. It's closed, and I lean in to lose myself in his kiss once again. They say nothing lasts forever. Hold on, I want to make sure because I feel like I clicked it twice. Okay. They say that nothing lasts forever, but all that felt like to me was a lie told by people who never truly found love like I did. I knew that Harry was special when I first met him. We found a connection immediately, only to have it torn asunder when he failed the initiation. But even with an ocean between us, both of us sent on such different paths, we still found our way back to one another. 5 years, 10 years, 15. A partnership forged out of love, trust, and strength. We were unstoppable. I'd do anything for Harry, but in the end, that's why it all began to go wrong. Uh-oh, these flashbacks. You shouldn't leave, not right now. Your people need you. I need you.
I have little choice. Such meetings cannot be postponed. Do not pull the I need you card. Things are under control now, James. Besides, it's just a few days. I shall be back before you know it.
His smile is as bright as it's always been, but it doesn't reach his eyes. They're cold and tired. In a way, I can't help but blame myself for Harry's recent boldness. I've always encouraged him to think outside the box, to stop being so rigid when it comes to following the rules. And now, please, Harry, this has to stop. He averts his gaze, twisting his wedding band nervously. I know you think you're doing the right thing, but it's not worth it. None of this is worth it. I step closer, taking both of his hands in my own and tugging him at him to look at me. He refuses, still staring longingly out the window. I love you too much to let this destroy you. Think of everything you've achieved. Would you throw that all away just to make some numbers look good?
It's not about numbers, and you know it. It is about saving people's lives, about stopping those things from overwhelming us until we're nothing but...
He pauses, closes his eyes, then he carefully pries his hands from mine.
It's about doing what I swore to do, fulfilling my duty as protector of this country, protecting you.
I can protect myself. Harry flinches at the words, exhaling sharply.
We will discuss this further upon my return, but I must go. The carriage will be waiting for me.
Do not share this, Harry. You're further away from perfecting it than you think, and you know it. At that, he smiles, shaking his head. He steps close to the cup of to cup his hand to my jaw.
You've always underestimated me, my love.
He kisses me, and something about the way he does so makes me believe it's for the last time. After Harry's departure, I sat at our kitchen table and wrote him a letter before my nightly patrol. I knew it wouldn't make it to him before his meeting. In fact, I wasn't even going to send it. I just had a feeling. My dearest Harry, as much as I'd love to muse about how I long for you to return, to lay with me in our bed, I'm afraid this letter comes with a less lighthearted message. I'm worried. These experiments are troubling me, and I've been unable to sleep soundly since you showed me last week. I fear something terrible will happen that we won't be able to hide, that you won't be able to recover from. Is this really what they cursed all of us with all these years ago? I always knew we were different, that something within us made us stronger, but children, Harry, we were children. Think about that before you continue with this. Think about their intentions and why no one has attempted this before. I'll be leaving for a hunt this evening, missing you every step of the way, my power dulled without you standing strong by my side. All I ask is that you slow down, perfect things before you dare to implement your plan. I'm not sure how much longer I can sit back and watch, just waiting for it to all go wrong. I love you and I just want my husband back. We can make it through anything as long as we have each other. Always yours, James. Before we read this, let's think about what just happened here. We passed out, got hit in our fight, whatever, and James obviously communicates with us. So we saw a flashback of his life, and obviously Commander What's-a-Face is doing some experiments or something, and James is not having it. Eventually, after Commander leaves, James goes on a mission or something and then dies. And now Commander dies, super upset about it. Yeah, that's the parts we know. My also guess is something is happening to them when they are children, how they got their powers. We talked about Finn with that. My guess is they are injecting the children with some type of like vampire blood, demon blood, something. It might be vampire blood. That's why they're taking it from What's-his-face. I don't know. The graveyard is peaceful and the air is cool and the sky clear. The crunch of gravel under my boots is strangely comforting, and I feel the sense of calm washing over me as I step in front of a newly placed headstone. I crouch down, tracing the carved letters with my fingertips. James Addington Lane, brave hunter, loving husband, cherished friend. I haven't seen this yet. I stand, my vision blurring. There's a searing yet familiar pain in my temple as I turn and see a tall figure before me, silhouetted by bright moonlight. They would put the hunter part first, wouldn't they? James steps closer, standing by my side and sparring his grave a glance. The second you become a hunter, it trumps everything else. You're not even really considered a human first anymore. I agree. Am I dead? I love that I only get one choice here. I look at James, studying his features, registering that he's here, flesh and bone, and alive? Or am I dead? He shakes his head. No, but you're somewhere in between, just like me. Just like you? I look down and press my hand over my ribs, and it comes away crimson. My armor is jagged and torn, my clothes saturated with blood. When I look back at James, his brow furrowed, and I see a shadow emerging from the blackened tree line behind him. A familiar sight, lumbering, misshapen, not human. It's behind you. My words are monotone, though I intend for them to be a warning. My throat feels tight, and I'm once again stuck where I stand. He shakes his head, ignoring the looming threat, his eyes focused on me, and me alone. It's not real. You killed him, after all. Him? You simply did what I couldn't, what I should have done. I froze. I was too afraid to hurt someone I knew. As a hunter, you know you cannot hesitate, cannot second guess. If you do, people die. He's right. They teach us to be ruthless in our decisions. If it can kill you, you kill it first. It thralled me. I thought that's how it got you. He shakes his head. I saw. He pauses, mouth agape as he wants to say it, but something stops him. You saved them, Ddog, though your job isn't done just yet. I stare at him blankly, trying to comprehend where I am, why he's here, and just, everything. A little bit overwhelming. What did they do to us? He simply smiles. It's somber, almost pained. It's easier if I show you. Okay. I stare up at the familiar building that are now before me, a bitter taste blooming upon my tongue. I grew up here, learned to kill here, how to survive. They promised us the world, said we'd be heroes. As a naive child, I might even have believed them, and yet, in reality, we're nothing but pawns. Feels different now, doesn't it? I was so excited to be chosen. Most of us are. They make it feel like passing the initiation is some kind of coveted honor. It's not an honor, then what? James looks down at his hands, turning his palms skyward. I see scars, not unlike the ones that cover my own skin, and he looks back up. A curse. Suddenly, the sky turns inky black. The moon is full, hanging low, and the stars are sparse but bright. With a heavy sigh, James turns to me. Are you ready? Sure. Ready for what? I agree that as well. To finally find out how hunters are really made. I'm telling you, we get injected with vampire blood. That's my goal. I'm sticking that, putting all of that is the answer correct, Alex? Tell me. I think back to the comment Finn made the other day. Smiling to myself. I heard that we grow on trees. Good smart. James laughs. If only it were that simple, Ddog. What do you remember of your initiation? I was a child. I stare at him blankly, my memories non-existent past waking up in my bed the next day. Feeling stronger, feeling different, feeling better. He tilts his head at me, smiling. As I suspected, they're very good at making you forget what they need you to, aren't they? You would have been taken into the courtyard at night, right here where we stand. They then would have asked you to take your oath to pledge yourself to the cause. A witch would have offered you a vial of something, which they'd then expect you to ingest. I looked down at my hand, something cold appearing in my palm, a vial, just as James said. The liquid is black, viscous, and glowing. I remember, I think. They say those that fail experience a great discomfort, vomiting, convulsions, though it's still a mystery what makes us different from them. I uncorked the vial, bringing the mixture to my nose. It smells bitter like copper. I close my eyes, my heart pounding, then the words roll off my tongue as if possessed. I swear that no night will be traversed in fear, that nothing will be a promise and not a hope. I swear I shall lay down my life in the cause of my duty to protect the vulnerable from the creatures of this realm and any beyond it. Until my final breath, I pledged myself to you, body, mind, and soul. Then I remember the way it tastes, the way it made me retch and fall to my knees. I dug my fingers into the dirt until they bled. My skin cracked and my nails split. It burned my throat and my body fought hard to reject it, but I lost. When I opened my eyes, the vial was gone. Not dead, nor not of the living. Bind them and reveal them the strength of ascension. We summon you to reach your wizened hands to them. Let them be the vessel that will carry us onward. It is written that the power is our right to wield. Give to their body what separates man from the vulnerability of the flesh. Be that which may push the boundaries of our mortal coil. The blood of the vampire, creatures of the night, consumer of life, impart your keen awareness and resilience, but not be shun of the light of or endlessness of life. The blood of the Fae, tricksters incarnate, denizens between realms, impart your cunning and agile grace, but leave your weakness to the elements. The blood of the demon, purveyors of evil, guardians of the realms, impart your strength, but not your anger. The blood of the lichen, under the moon, beast of instinct, impart your primal power, but not the madness within. Blood, why does it always have to be fucking blood? My hands shake, my breathing quickening, and James watches me with a concerned gaze as the realization washes over me. I'm just like them, we all are. The things that we were trained to kill are a part of us. They made us monsters. He nods, and I gather it's been a burden, knowledge that he's carried far too long. Fight fire with fire, as they say. A simple human wouldn't stand a chance against the beast we face. The early hunters were true warriors who fought and died too quickly for us to stand a chance. An order was formed, people who had known of the creature's existence before the day of revelation. People who had befriended them, worshipped them even. They formed the agency, the first enforcers. They studied the way vampires can infect us, the way lichens can curse us. It's simple biology, a touch of magic, and they have a carefully curated weapon on their hands. I do not know how long it took them to perfect it, and I dread to think how many lives were lost. And it was truly only a matter of time until someone took it too far. I just never thought it would happen in a place I called home. I look at him and he waits expectantly, watching me with a furrowed brow. Someone in Lunaris. Slowly, all the pieces begin to fall in place. Fiero, Alcar, Aya, Azazel. Creatures captured needlessly, hunters missing and dying. God. I need to go back. I need to find out who and stop them. To protect, I ball my hands into fists, my heart a hammer in my chest, my head spinning. Something is wrong. James reaches out with wide eyes. His hand passes through me. Breathe, Ddog. My vision blurs and I feel everything falling around me, falling away into darkness. Something is calling out to me, a force pulling and tugging, violent in its desire to bring me back. James. He looks defeated, but he stands a little taller, though he still smiles and my heart aches for him. Our fallen hero being killed simply for being kind. You have so much to do, it's not your time, not yet. Of all the wrong he's done, he did well in choosing you, Hunter. You've made me proud, made all of them proud. It would have been such an honor to fight by your side. James stands stoic and stalwart. I'm not certain as where I am, and yet he remains with poise somewhere in between and still as strong as ever as when he was living. Something tells me he's waiting. For what? I'm not entirely sure, but I hope that whatever it is, he finds it. His peace, maybe. Tell Harry that I love him. Then, with a smile, he slowly fades away. A dim light seeps into my vision, thankfully not bright enough to hurt, but very much reassurance that I'm awake. My senses tell me the room is familiar and quiet and that I'm not alone. An aura lurks just about of my immediate sight. It's burgeoning power like a fire, and its body temperature too, I'm sure. That's definitely Omen. Blindly, I reach out my hand for Omen. It's like I knew. A shockingly hot hand grabs mine immediately, and I almost hiss at the surprise contact. Pain jolts through my skull at the sudden movement, but by the time the stars stop swimming in my vision, Omen is already leaning over me with one hand splayed upon my chest. He doesn't say anything, but there's a glow of heated coils in his eyes, and the quiet command to stay down is almost a physical force. I smirk half-heartedly and let gravity pull me back down, not that I could have gotten up even if I wanted to. My muscles feel sore, the kind of sore that means I haven't been moving them for a while. Hello. If you're given the option to kiss, we go for the kiss. That's what we do here when you're given a demon to kiss. I admittedly worry a lot less than I normally would, but because Omen is kissing me already, his hands cradling my face, he's all lips and tongue in a desperation I can almost feel. Missed me? Omen pulls back enough just to see his face. He's grinning. I feel his fingers twine around mine, his touch a more moderate temperature now.
I only counted the minutes while you slept. Maybe even the seconds too.
He's a little shy at the admission, but I smile, squeezing his hand.
How are you feeling?
That's a good question. How am I feeling? Slowly, carefully, I sit up. I expect pain, a half-healed wound being pulled on, but surprisingly, there's nothing. The spot where that thing struck me is perfectly healed, only bare, smooth skin when I touch it under my loose shirt. My muscles are sore, but I know it's because they haven't been moving. I haven't been moving. And that's the next worrying thing. How long was I out? I take Omen's hand and kiss the back of it, drawing a smile from him. His tail snakes around to half curl around my waist. And he seems to know the question before I even speak. I'm going to guess a week.
2 days.
Oh, 2 days. Okay, that's not
Ezra
bad.
assured me that you were okay. He worked on you for a long time despite his exhaustion, but it seemed like something was stopping you from waking. I was so worried.
I'm sorry you had to worry. I didn't really know what happened. But Omen shakes his head, the movement slow as he steadies me. There's something in the way he's looking at me that implies he understands. For a moment, I wonder if demons can read minds too. Not as clearly as vampires, my studies and experience say, but he's certainly like no demon I've seen before. If he can read minds, well, now is probably the worst time for he to be able to do it. I eye him warily, and I think he can gather where my mind is wandering.
Don't worry. I can't look inside your head, at least not without possessing you. That's very different. Not that I would.
Omen is quick to assure me, despite not voicing my concerns. I smile at him, vaguely amused at his mild panic. Is my worry that obvious? The dreams and James and this faint sense of sickness, of betrayal, still swirls like poison in the pot of my mind, in the pit of my stomach. I don't know. Omen. Yes. You've lived for a long time, yes? Were you here when the first hunters were made? Did you know we were different from humans? I watch Omen's eyes widen. I can feel his concern almost like a physical force, and for a moment I'm irrationally, absurdly terrified that he'll withdraw and shy away from me as he did when he first met. Shy away from me like I'm something that will hurt him, like I'm a monster. Which I technically am, aren't I? So, let's pause for a moment. We got some confirmations here. When they were younger, and they first started the whole like academy thing, to become a hunter, you have to drink a little viscous liquid that basically has all the different bloods in it: vampire, demon, lichen, whatever. And then they become like this monster-esque type thing to where you have all these powers, but you only get the good ones, not the bad ones. But then if that's the case, the whole thing that attacked us was formerly a hunter, which means, am I also formerly a hunter? Not formally, am I also going to turn into one of those things?
No, I wasn't here in the mortal realm when humanity discovered us. Discovered everything.
I feel his fingers curling under my chin. Omen lifts my head, not that I'd realize I'd lowered it, and when our eyes meet, his face is grim, but there's such compassion in his eyes I almost shudder.
But I did guess how you were created. I had a feeling, I suppose. One that I didn't really want to believe, because how could they? It seemed far-fetched, but there has always been rumors of enforcers approaching my kin to get their blood.
He looks at me, then, like he's seeing for the first time that the horrible person now, a possibility, is true, that I'm made up of little parts of the things that I lived to kill.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that they did this to you.
My mouth feels dry. His acceptance of me, his knowing me and still looking at me like that should be comforting, yet something burns bad. Well, they sure didn't tell us that. Well, sorry, let me try that again, shall we? Well, they sure didn't tell us what was in the fucking concoction when they made us drink it and become what we are. Omen squints at me. He withdraws his hand and sits back, head
A
tilted.
sip of spoken blood and alchemy doesn't make you inhuman. In fact, thinking so is arrogance. You are human.
Despite myself, I snort, says the demon prince. He ignores that.
It's not the monster part that worries you, I don't think.
I almost flinch from his words. He doesn't. Omen studies me with a gleam in his chestnut eyes, his tail waving idly behind him. And for the very first time, despite the show of fire and terror he's made in the woods, I suddenly understand that he is exactly what he said he was, a demon, an old one at that. We've never met before, we've only gotten to know each other, have just chosen to care for one another, and yet he looks at me carefully like he's known me for years. Is this what it feels like to be regarded by someone so old? To feel like my troubles are dire, but not unique, to feel like I'm not alone in them. The choices we made, the choices my Lieutenant General made, if that horrible assumption that swirls like a sickness inside me is real, could they be undone? No, they can't, but where to from here? It feels eerie. Something crawls under my skin. I can't define the feeling, so why it's so off-putting to sit here, to be stared at by my lover and feel almost bare, naked, vulnerable. Is it because he's a demon and I'm a hunter? There's a long, peaceful silence. I feel messy and scrambled inside, but Omen sits cross-legged at the end of my bed, and his eyes are on the blanket still covering my knees, and I sense sorrow from him. Why are you so desperate to leave the abyss behind and come here? Omen meets my eyes and tilts his head, and I can tell he is weighing his answer before he gives it to me, but there's no deception to it. I think he's trying to find words to convey what he means, and I remember suddenly that Omen hadn't been here very long either. Here in Lunaris or here in the mortal world, I do not know.
My father will soon disappear.
Omen stops and frowns, rubbing at his chin.
Maybe not like that. I was supposed to take his place. I would rule as he had, and I refused.
Ah, yes, the classic I'm the son of the devil and I don't want to become the devil thing. His fingers curl upon his knee. I reach out and place a hand on it, squeezing gently to remind him that I'm here. Omen gives me a grateful smile before his face falls serious again.
Being what he is, it consumes you in a way. Everything does with demons. As I'm sure you know from your studies, your experience.
You would have become something else, someone else.
In a way, yes, but in a way that matters, almost an unwilling change. For many years, I've peered through the boundaries at this human world. Its colors are bright, and its people are kind.
He smiles, so pure, so honest.
Good hearts like Ezra, broken ones like Finnegan, wanting to find their way back or forward. Cracked ones like Alcar, who still try, who still risk everything. I was so fond of you and the things that shared this world with you. I doubt I still would be if I took the throne. Something would have warped and twisted within me. I was afraid that when I next looked at you, I would have nothing but hatred for you, nothing but the desire to throw your lives into chaos and make your struggles worthless.
He swallows thickly, closing his eyes, gathering himself before he opens them again.
To turn every heroic story into a tragedy. So I ran to save myself.
I can think of nothing else to say, but I'm glad we met. Omen's eyes widen. Then he smiles and takes my hand and presses his lips to my fingertips. The gesture is so tender it makes my heart ache. I wrap him up in my arms, burying my face into his hair. He smells like incense, like the room itself, the candle that sits burning silently on the table that I've just now noticed. I don't need to ask if he's been here to know he's been here for a very long time, waiting for me. Omen is warm, so warm, and his embrace is solid, and I remember from a very long time ago how instructors and senior hunters had warned me that demon strikes deals with humans, not often out of malice, but out of ruinous compassion. I don't know how to say this, but I don't think I know who's responsible. I don't know how to say this, but I think I know who's responsible for the tragedies around Lunaris, and I don't like it, not if it's true. Is it someone you trusted? My mouth feels dry. I can't form the words. It hurts, plain and simple. It hurts like a beast that ripped through my insides and spat my own bile back at me. It hurts and it makes me sad, tired, and afraid that every fear was proven right, every doubt, every second thought that the enforcers never had our best interest at heart, never. And yet, we had to trust them. They would reward it with an existence worse than death. Omen pulls away, but only enough to lean his forehead to mine. He presses a finger to my lips, traces the shape of my mouth tenderly, but even this close I can see his eyes and I can see the glimmer of flames in them. You will face your enemy. It's spoken with so much faith. I have to. When? I glance at the window. It's completely dark outside. I can't imagine how late in the night it already is, and I need time too. I need time to sort things out, both inside my head and make an attack plan. Just the thought of the latter leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. I see him watching me, and the way he looks at me almost makes me forget it all. Fondness, a naked affection that I could only have dreamed of. I do want to forget. Maybe just for a little while. Kiss him, sleep with Omen. We sleeping with Omen, baby. Let's go. Okay, let's get our good reading glasses time on now. As if he can sense my building desire, Omen leans in and kisses me, a chaste press of his lips first, his tail wrapped around my waist and his arms braced on either side of me, but he's waiting for more. The press of his body and his warmth is irresistible. It sets a flame burning low in my belly. I slide my hands under his shirt and under his vest, and Omen rewards me with a soft intake of breath and deepens his kiss. Shit, his tongue really is that long. His hand splays against my skin under the loose shirt I wear, and suddenly he's not shy at all. I shudder, my head spinning, but it's too late to consider escaping him now. Not that I'd ever want to. Hello? Omen leans over me, our lips still sealed, and I feel his shoulders move as he shrugs off his vest. I notice that his shirt has somehow been worked open. His or my effort, I'm not sure, but it's halfway down his shoulders, bearing a tantalizing expanse of pale skin as he kneels over me. He withdraws slightly, delicate hands braced either side of my legs. He isn't flushed at all, and his grin he wears is decidedly wicked. Hello, cheater. My words are barely an exhale. An Omen's smirk widens. Something that's not just candlelight glimmers in his eyes, and suddenly I'm reminded of the wreath of flames he'd worn when he faced a creature, of the way I saw his heart brighten his chest through his glowing cage of his ribs. Of the way he's far from human, and yet it doesn't make me nervous, not in the slightest. I might not be versed in his language, but I know exactly what that means. My breath leaves my lungs in a helpless whoosh, and without hesitation I respond, I love you too. He smiles.
Come here.
I go willingly, more than willingly, and Omen settles over me. His warm hand rests purposely against my hip, thumb dipping beneath the waistband of my trousers. He looks at me, our gazes locked, and I nod. Yes. The candles are snuffed, and I feel him heavy and warm and hard against me. I hear my name, a whisper upon his lips. The tone is different, deeper and wanton. He's never sounded so good. I push my fingers into his soft hair and let it wind around my fist, tugging. The noise it elicits from him is one of bliss. The graze of his teeth against my throat and the press of his hips serves to tear me asunder. Every nerve in my body set alight and ready to burst. I'm close, so close I can barely think, every brush of his hand and the hitch of his breath breaking my already shaky resolve. He says my name like it's the only word he's ever known, and at least the most important one. And as we hungrily press our mouths together again, we fall apart. Two bodies joined as one, breathless and bending and breaking, crashing like waves against the shore. I lose myself in him, in the way we make each other feel, and in this moment, everything else fades away. Just him and me coming down from an unfathomable high. Oh, that's it. That was nice. That was nice. It's a magnificent effort to wake up come morning. Not entirely because the night before had been any kind of trial, mind the opposite, in fact. But even with just my face peeking above the blankets and my eyes closed, I know it's cold. But in here, with an arm thrown over my shoulders and Omen's body heat pressing me so close, it's warm. It's safe, even strange that I can have this after everything, but as I slowly coax my mind back from grogginess, I know it can be true. Omen gently rolls over my legs so he can get to his feet. As he moves to do so, I notice something on his back. Well, something that spans across his back, taking up his entire shoulder blades, an imposing tattoo of a black ram's skull with a half moon of connected circles underscored by chains, marred savagely by scars that must have been scored from claws. Omen freezes and I blink, pulling myself together. I shouldn't stare. I know that much because he quirkily grabs his shirt and throws it on, looking away. I'm sorry, Omen. I didn't mean to look. You're hot, and you got something that's basically a tattoo. I'm just saying, you're checking all the boxes.
It's all right. I understand that you're curious.
Oh, curious about what? Alcar, how did you get here? Hello? And suddenly, Alcar is in the doorway, leaning on the frame with aggressive nonchalance. His red eyes narrowed to slits. Excuse me, sir, we were having a moment. Oh, it's nothing. I shoot Alcar a look, a little annoyed despite my best effort. Alcar's face contorts for a moment, and I am almost ready to believe he's about to say something scathing. Protective. It's from what I read from the tension in his shoulders and the sweep of his tail. Offensively so, even forceful and sincere as it is. But then Omen laughs. The sound, quiet and fond, yanks all of us out of the brief deadlock. Alcar's face turns red. He looks away, muttering under his breath, and Omen lays a reassuring hand on my knee. It's all right. Thank you, Alcar, for checking in. Yeah, sorry. I was actually here for Ddog. Haha, he was here for me, motherfucker. Really? Is someone looking for me? Who isn't? You were out for 2 fucking days, Hunter. 3 now. Gave us a bloody scare, too. Mean that literally, when Omen came rushing back with you. Alcar stops short. His jaw clenches, and then he laughs, soft and wry, and leans back with his arms crossed. Ezra just asked me to swing by and see if you're awake or not, and how you're feeling, that sort of stuff. Well, notice the half-naked demon right there. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm fine. That's what I meant to say. I meant to say I'm fine. And if you could, please tell him thank you for my life, too. Alcar raises an eyebrow, though his eyes are glued to the floor, giving me and Omen our privacy, I see. I'd say you should go tell him that yourself if you're feeling up to it, and if you have time, I would like to talk to you.
Something wrong?
Omen gives me, then Alcar, a worried look. I shake my head and squeeze his hand. I doubt there's a problem. If anything, Alcar is right. I owe him an update from the monster we put down. The mere memory of it makes my stomach sink, but this dread is new. It's not the active fear anymore. That doesn't make it better, though. The sunlight is spilling in from my window. Suddenly it feels cold. It saps strength from me almost to think about the road ahead now, from what I know that I know what I do. What? You didn't get away from that thing unscathed, did you? There's something sympathetic in Alkar's face. Harsh as the scars make it seem, he doesn't wait for an answer either. Instead, he turns in the doorway, glancing at us both over his shoulder. You want me to tell them all to go gather at Ezra's? Is that the safest meeting spot? Yeah, it is. Oh, and Ddog, you owe me a beer for that fright. Ah, really? I haven't settled that healer's deal with Ezra's yet. He doesn't charge money for his friendship services, like helping people keep their blood and organs inside their bodies. I'm just gonna put a beer on your tab. I glance at Omen, not entirely sure if the audaciousness wolf bastard was joking or not, but my demon lover only smiles and shakes his head. Alkar cleverly slams the door shut behind him before I can tell him to not do that. I press a hand against my side where the injury once was. There's smooth skin under my fingers, the gash's agony a mere memory, a trivial one, in the face of the dreams that followed and, well, everything. There's a panic building in the pit of my stomach, one that says I am alone and on shaky ground. But before it spirals out of control, a warm hand laces with mine, warm fingers grip my chin. Turn my face sideways to meet Omen's gaze. His eyes are more cherry embers than brown. This morning, his skin is hot. With the backdrop of sunlight behind him, he's enchanting. The intensity of his focus on me sends a shiver down my spine. To be here now, treated to the singular of this demon. Are you charming me, Your Highness?
No, but hear me, beloved. Wherever the pieces fall, you're not alone.
He rests his forehead against mine, and his presence is a pressure, heavy but not suffocating. Our only points of contact are this and his fingers laced into mine, and yet everything is only him, only us.
I love you.
Let that be enough, he doesn't say. He needn't say. From Omen, it's not a prayer or a reassurance, but a command, some confirmation of questions unspoken I haven't thought to voice. Is this love, in the end, a contract of a kind? Oh, no, we kissing him again. That's what we do. This is, we've done like 7 kisses. We are kissed enough now. I press closer until my lips find his, and kissing him brings a sense of intoxication. Soft mattresses cushions my back as Omen deepens it, eyelashes brushing my cheeks. The warmth of his body is supernatural, yet uncomfortable when he drapes it over mine, tipping me over. How long did we lose ourselves in that haze? I don't know, but eventually he pulls away enough to talk and try as I do to chase his mouth. Omen presses a finger to my lips with a chuckle.
You'll have everything you want. But before that, I think you should know something.
That you love me? I'm pretty sure you're going to say that. Something else. Is it that you're the son of the devil? We covered that ground too, sir. Reluctantly, I push myself into my elbows and look at him, at the column of his throat, his smooth skin and the glow of his eyes. There's still more Omen conceals from my sight, my senses, I know it. Perhaps because he fears I cannot bear it, and right though he might be, I want to know, Omen chuckles, low and deep, deeper than his usual voice, a timbre that resonates in my chest. Hello? But he draws away and turns around, and once more I'm treated to the massive, intricate tattoo that spans his shoulder blades for a second before he turns again. That. A homeward brand. Is that what humans call it? I begin to shake my head, only to realize Omen probably can't see me. I don't know if it's the same thing. The homeward brand is an imprint of a demon on the body of their contractor, the binding terms of an agreement, but you're a demon yourself, so probably not. Omen makes a noise I can't quite decipher the meaning of. I can sense the pulsating, perhaps the word is energy from the brand, feeling its similarity to Omen's presence and pick out the difference. But it also feels almost broken, stymied, the likeness of a clockwork device not quite working right, almost. Cause is likely the savage scars crisscrossing the tattoo. Instinctively, I reach out to try to touch him, but Omen withdraws. He smiles reassuringly at my noise of apology, shaking his head. He pulls his shirt on once more, explaining further.
It marks royalty, and through recognition of my title, my beholdenness to my father, it would have been how he would find me in this world. If I hadn't broken it, of course.
Oh, I missed my button. There it is. It won't heal. Omen shakes his head, and there's a particular sorrow in his eyes.
Some bonds, once sundered, will not mend. At least, not until I go back. and I'm not going back until...
He trails off, eyes averted. I can sense his reluctantness. His reluctance. The pain in his words is unspoken. His tail curls gently around my wrist as we look at each other, the weight of our differences in his own suffocating blanket. How many years until my life runs out? Or how many eons until Omen forgets my name? Until he no longer goes by that name at all? I know what you're thinking. Is that obvious?
In this lifetime, I'm all yours.
There's a promise in that somewhere. I tilt my head and study his eyes, and Omen's expression is too somber to be called earnest, but there's something like it and all the same. Thank you. I don't know if I'll ever say that enough, for well, like everything. Quite welcome. Omen trails off. He gently pries free of my grasp and leans back. For a long moment, he studies the sunlight on the floor, almost pensively.
I also never thought when I first arrived that the root of your troubles all rest with me. If I hadn't tried so hard to run...
I grip his hand to stop him. When Omen gives me a startled look, I firmly shake his head. Yeah. You are not responsible for what the lieutenant chooses to do in response to it. Omen smiles at me gratefully, then there's a reluctance to his silence that I know means he doesn't quite believe what I said. Shaking my head, I run up my hands up his arms and rest them on his shoulders. There's always a choice. When we're pushed to the end of our means, there's always a choice. Hard as it is, the choice is always ours to make. Yeah, you're right. I smile at him, but deep down I wish General had made a different choice. Even now, what I've learned, I don't want them to be true, I find. Because if they are true, then obedience and faith to the enforcement are as much founding backbones of what a hunter is as our skills and our training. You intend to confront him. If not that, then something must be done all the same. Omen tilts his head. I muster up a brief smile, though even I can feel how unevenly it sits on my face. Betrayal, conspiracies, quite the mess going on in this town, huh?
I promise that if any other demons show up, I'll make sure that they know to stay away.
If you don't mind me asking, why do you call yourself Omen?
You mean why call myself Harbinger? It's not a cosmic joke, don't worry. It's an old name. A title, really, like Hunter.
So, a profession. Omen starts to shake his head, then pauses, slowly contemplatively. He nods, then suddenly he smiles sheepishly.
I wish it hadn't been such a bad omen. I only just realized the joke.
Who made the joke? I try not to think about how likely it is that I was the one who made that joke. Omen covers his mouth with one hand, eyes squinted in laughter. I wouldn't have blamed you for wanting to get away from what you told me about. In fact, his remorse is rare and wholesome. I've seen fewer humans willing to admit fault for fucking things up, the person who approves mine and August's paychecks being one.
I know you won't. They say it takes a particular kind of heart to resonate with one of our kind.
He says it warmly and traces my lips with a finger, laughs when I chase it, kiss it, and takes his hand in mine and kisses his palm. At some point, his hands are on my waist and his mouth is hot on mine, and once again we fall back down into a tangle of limbs and simmering need to touch. Soon I must get up, soon I must get ready, soon I must get the fallout of everything I've learned. Soon. But the now is ours, and I intend to make the most of it. And the next day happens, I'm assuming, I don't know, but we're going to find out more next time. Goodbye, everybody.